Hey everybody, I know we're a little bit late. Technical difficulties. I tell you what, by this time I am about ready for a drink right now, and I'm not talking about Coke, sweet tea, or anything like that. I'm talking about something a little bit stronger. But anyway, we're here. Thank you for tuning in for our episode of Between the Pages Live tonight. We've got a lot of great stuff in store for you guys. We've got Tim Westover with us, and towards the end of the program tonight, we are going to announce the finalists for the 2020 Georgia Independent Author of the Year Award. So, Mary is with us tonight. Mary, say hey. I think you're a little bit out of frame.
Hey, sorry, I'm trying to get us up on the thing so I can follow comments.
Yeah, if you're with us, just tell Mary hello, so we'll know you're with us. And
I'm not seeing the live feed coming up on here.
Are we not live yet? Wait a minute, I see the little live button.
Yeah, we should be. There, yeah, I think it's just delayed. Now,
okay.
Now it's fine.
Trust me, if it's a comedy of errors tonight. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. But we will survive. That's part of being a good Southern woman, is you just know how to just keep trudging along. So bless your heart, smile, and keep going. But anyway, like I was saying, we've got a lot of great things in store tonight. Mary is with us tonight. She was with us for the past 2 weeks because of things that have come up unexpectedly with her. But Mary, it is so good to have you back. You were very much missed.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be back. I miss being here when I'm not here. I had some things that were a little beyond my control, and so I had to deal with those. But we are here and ready to.
Well, really, you were kind of here last week. You were just in my ear. You wasn't in front of the camera, but you were in my ear, which was really fun because I had Mary in this ear, and then I had Mary on this side. So I was sandwiched in between Marys last week. But you know what? It's like I said, you were missed, and we're glad that you're back.
Well,
why don't you tell everybody about your independent author book review?
Okay. And
also, you've gotten a really big kudos here recently. You're now, I guess, blog for indie authors.
Well, I'm a book tour host for Silver Dagger book tours, and they work with indie authors and set up book tours and arrange it with different bloggers and different genres. I pretty much review any genre except erotica. I'll review anything because I don't feel like putting myself into one little category because I don't read just one thing,
Right.
And so I review a lot of different things. So I'm in with them. Also, I'm working with a blog out of California where the lady, I submitted a review on Marlene Buchanan's book, and she put it in her on her website and has asked me to do more reviews of indie authors that I work with. So I'll be submitting more of those to her. But if you're an independent author and you're looking for a review, I do them for free on the website. You can also do a guest blog post. If you don't want your book reviewed, you just want to do a promotion where you write a blog post and we do an excerpt or even just a summary of your book on there. It's Indie Author Book Reviews .com, or find me on Facebook or Instagram, and we're glad to work something out. You're welcome to to submit a post, and we'll try to get it worked with you.
And if you don't remember all of that, you can definitely go to southernpen.com, click on the Writer's Resources. I think it's Writer's Toolbox tab on the menu, and Mary's contact information is located under that. If you are a resource for authors, if you do like editing, promotional work, or anything like that, and you would like to be listed under the Writer's Toolbox on the Southern Pen Bookshop's website, just shoot us an email at the southernpenbookshop@gmail.com, and we can talk about getting you added to the Writer's Toolbox, so writers will know that you have some services that can assist them.
So I also do beta reads and some copy editing or proofreading, different things like that. Plus, I'm also working on promotion packages. I've had requests from several authors to put together a promotion package for them. So
now, when you talk about promotion package, what exactly, or what is
a marketing package for them to get involved with book blogs, to get into book funnels, some of those different things where they don't. Some of them don't want to actually have to do all the labor themselves. They want to just say, "Here's my stuff, fix it for me."
right?
And so doing that, did some Zoom backgrounds for an author, just different things that they need. So
All right.
we can usually find somebody that can do it if you need it. So.
Exactly. Well, moving right along, I want to talk about a couple of upcoming events that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Of course, next Wednesday night, we're going to have our book trivia night. That's going to be August the 26th, and we're going to start at 7:30. We are using Zoom to do our virtual book trivia night. So when we'll post up a event on our Facebook page under the events with the Zoom meeting room. Now to kind of give you an idea of some of the questions that you could kind of expect in our virtual book trivia night. Here's a question for you guys. Let's just go ahead and stretch our little literary knowledge here. What was Stephen King's first published novel? If you know the answer to that, just let Mary know. Just type it in there. And the first 3 people that give us the correct answer, we'll have a prize for you at the end. We'll have a prize for you that we'll discuss at the end of the broadcast tonight. So if you missed the trivia question is, what was Stephen King's first published novel? Now, also this past Tuesday night, we did our very first Southern Pen Bookshop live sale. We had a lot of great gifts, t-shirts, books, great pricing on a lot of the products merchandise that we have in the bookshop. We're going to start doing our live sales every other week, which will probably equate out to twice a month. They'll be on Tuesday nights at 7:30. We promise to keep them an hour in length. Matter of fact, we had some merchandise that we didn't actually get to show this past Tuesday night because I know you guys have a lot to do in your lives other than to hang out with me all night long, and I appreciate you giving me at least 60 minutes of your time. So I promise to be respectful and not go over that. So our next live sale is going to be September the 1st at 7:30 p.m. Maggie Collins is going to be working with me, helping me on the merchandising and displaying for me. Mary will be again working behind the camera, handling the comments, taking orders. And rumor has it that Marlene Buchanan may come in and help me too. Now, if y'all caught Marlene's first interview with us about 3 weeks ago, this lady is a hoot. I promise she will make you laugh, and I really hope that it can work out that she can join me.
Marlene's always a joy to have.
Oh yeah. I always say if you can't afford entertainment, just invite Marlene. So she's going to get me for saying that one day. So tonight we have author Tim Westover with us. He is the author of Winter Sisters, and just kind of give you a little bit of background on Tim. Well, obviously I forgot to pull those notes. Oh well.
Here you go.
Oh, and this is why we have a great co-host called Mary. Thank you. I am so sorry.
That little block right there. We're going to deal with it in a minute.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mary's going to explain something to you in a second. And I'll tell you what, Mary, why don't you go ahead and explain that before we get Tim up with us.
All right. In the world of Facebook Live videos, we would like to invite you to flip the page. That means can you read it? Can you see what it says? Flip the page so everybody else can see our video. Okay?
Oh, Lord.
See?
Flip
Flip the page. So,
okay. And anytime you hear us say flip the page, make sure that you flip the page. And y'all may not be able to read that, so I'm going to bring it up a little bit closer to the camera so you can see. And Maggie Collins made this for us. Now, so when we say flip the page, that's what we mean. All right, guys? So we appreciate that. And I call it sprinkling the pixie dust. So, and that's just because I'm a little bit of a Disney nerd. But anyway, getting back to Tim, you know what? We can be like a runaway train sometimes. Woo! I don't have ducks, I have squirrels, and they're all over the place. And Screech is around here somewhere, too.
But the ride's always fun and cheap.
Yes, it is. All right. Tim considers himself an adopted Southerner, so that already gives you that he's not originally Southern born, but he considers himself an adopted Southerner. He lives in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and he has traveled the Southeast scouting out unique stories, folklore, and history that he enjoys mixing with the larger philosophical themes in his historical 19th century fiction. Now, Tim was supposed to have been one of our presenters this year at the Writers' Conference, and his class was titled Southern Ghosts, Plaid Eyes, Will-O-Wisp, and Haints. And I love that he used the word Haints because you don't hear that word much anymore in our common dialect nowadays. But anyway, he is joining us tonight, so we're very excited to have him. So Tim, if you'll come on up and join this little party here, I can't promise you anything. So,
The brave man.
very brave man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we are just excited to have you here with us. Now, just kind of wanted to talk with you a little bit about a few things. Mary's going to talk to you about the book. The way we do this is we split it out. I handle the personal side of things, and she handles the book side of things. So, I understand that you share something in common with me, which is you're a cat person.
Yes, but I'm a recent convert to the world of cats.
Recent?
It's only been 6 weeks that I've had these two little guys, so that's about half their lives. That's Shadow and Midnight. I'm not sure which one is which in that particular picture. This one's probably Shadow because he's the one who's always doing the biscuits on my leg there.
Yes, they do like to do that, and that's their way of marking you.
Okay,
They're claiming you.
Yeah, I'm their property.
Yeah.
Can they cover some of my bills in the future then, or it's the other way around?
No, no. And here's the thing, and you're about to learn this, and it's very true. Cats don't have owners; they have servants.
Okay.
And
Kind of like daughters.
Yeah, they can be as expensive as the daughters.
Yes. But talking about daughters, your daughter was insistent on naming the cats.
Yeah, she was the one that came up with Shadow and Midnight as the names, and even though they're not Shadow Black or Midnight Black, and she wanted them to be girl names, even though they're boy cats, just because all of her stuffed animals are girls, and all of her friends are girls, and all of her sisters are girls, so it just makes sense that the cats would be girls too, regardless of where they were born. They're adopted girls now.
Okay, gotcha. So and actually these are what you would call tabby cats. And I'm going to tell you guys, I'll always love to go down a little side bunny trust. But if you ever look at the forehead of a tabby cat, and you can see it, I think that you said this was Shadow here.
Yeah.
A tabby cat has the letter M on their forehead.
Oh yeah.
And the tale or the folklore or the whatever behind why the tabby cat always carries the letter M on their forehead is because when Jesus was born in Bethlehem, it was a tabby cat that crawled into the creche with the baby Jesus, and it carries, that's the reason why the tabby always has the letter M on its forehead, is because Mary, was very receptive to, the cat being with the infant, so with baby Jesus. So just a little religious folklore there for you. But
do they all have the same egregious ear hair going on here, or is that unique to my particular?
No, they have that, and yeah, you're about to learn a lot about being a cat dad.
Yeah.
But so welcome to being the parenthood of being a cat parent. Now, also, you're a little bit on a musical side. You have a musical background.
I try. My daughter is horribly embarrassed at my musical background, and anytime I try to sing, whether it's a lullaby or some classic rock, she's just, no, Daddy, you're at least half a step off, and I just wish you would stop.
Now, how old is this child?
She's 9.
9.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, she is 9 years old.
But she's been saying that since she was about 4.
About 4.
Mm-hmm.
That is funny. Was it you that posted today about your daughter came in and asked how to spell COVID?
Yeah,
Did it have
does
a
COVID
hyphen?
have a dash in it or not?
Yeah. Yeah, I read that and I was like, oh my, this man is in trouble
Yeah.
with this girl.
No, she's very precocious.
Now one thing you listed is you're raising her to become a Southern eccentric. What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Well, she asked me that very same question a couple months ago now, and I said, remember when you were on your hoverboard in the living room, and you were going around the couch, and you were singing harmony to a song you recorded yourself in Spanish on your iPad, and you weren't wearing any pants? It's like that. It's basically whatever you're interested in. That's great. Follow that. Get interested in it. Get as deep into it as you want. It doesn't matter if it's not connected to something else. You'll find some connections. You'll find some interesting links. It doesn't matter if it's cool, if it's popular, if your friends are doing it, if you're the only person out there. Just, you're allowed to have as many hobbies as you want. There's no limit on that.
Yeah.
That sounds like our kind of kid.
Yeah, exactly. But going back around to your musical background, you play the clawhammer banjo.
Yep, clawhammer style banjo. Which is not that. That's a banjo. That's made out of an old pie plate, and doesn't quite have enough strings, but you can at least get through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on it. I played the fiddle in college, harmonica and guitar in between. I was the only boy in my recorder class in England, so I only lasted in that for a day or two, because the pressures of being the only boy in a class in second grade are too high.
Oh yeah.
So dropped out of that.
Now, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast tonight, one reason why the main reason we were late is because of technical difficulty, and the technical difficulty was Vicky and the computer wasn't GIAYA too well, because I knew what the password was, but the computer didn't want to set the password, and I found out Screech was helping me a little bit, because you guys, if y'all watched the shows before, Screech likes to help with the technical side of things. But you were talking about your daughter has a Casio.
Oh yeah, her little her keyboard downstairs.
Yeah,
she's been taking piano lessons for years, and finally got to the point in her piano lessons where there were not enough keys on the Casio to handle what she needed to handle.
Yeah.
Daddy, we need a better piano. It needs to be at least a Yamaha.
Yeah.
And that particular Casio, I was glad to get rid of it, because it had a rather creepy habit of being down in the basement, and when my daughter would leave it on, which is always, they're never going to turn everything off after themselves, it would start whispering in this quiet little female voice, "Hello, anybody there?" And when I was upstairs in the kitchen and I heard that coming from the basement in the middle of the night, it was not okay. So now that one is gone, we got one that only plays piano and doesn't have a creepy ghost voice.
Yeah, that's good. And considering the fact that a lot of what you do with writing has to do with ghosts and supernatural and folklore and everything, that has to kind of like raise the hair on your head, back your neck. But the funny, how that came up was, we were working with two different laptops, and one of them started talking to me, and I was like, oh my God, where's this voice coming from? But, so, yeah, that's it. That's pretty cool that you had that experience, like I said, considering that you write a lot about ghosts and things like that. Now, one of the things that you also have prided yourself on, and I, being a Southern grown woman, I am ashamed to admit, I suck at making biscuits.
Oh.
I cannot make nice biscuits. But you perfected your family biscuit recipe. Can you tell us what you did and what's your secrets?
We had no family biscuit recipe, so I had to invent one. I mean, every family recipe starts with some generation, so it might as well be the 2020 generation rather than since we didn't get it from the 1820s. So I started with just a basic internet recipe, and then I did a lot of A/B testing, where I would make half the batch with one change, and then the other half of the batch would be a control batch, and we would just go purely on subjective reaction to the biscuit. There was no objective quality of measuring height or measuring sugar content. If we'd gotten a little more science in there, it might have been even better. But no, this was just like, which one will the baby eat, which one will the baby not eat?
Right.
So I've decided that it needs to be, for me, it needs to be gold medal flour.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of King Arthur people out there. There's nothing wrong with that. It just might be a different recipe. So I do that. I do buttermilk. I do salted butter. I freeze the butter, and then I grate the butter into flour that I have refrigerated as well, not just going flour directly out of, if I'm gonna make a perfect biscuit and I have like 3 days to prepare everything in advance, you can always do half a biscuit just by, regular butter and flour off the shelf. But,
Right.
so I grate that in there and then work it as lightly as possible. And I tend to go under on the buttermilk and then add a little more if needed until everything just barely holds together.
Right.
Work it as little as possible. You don't want the heat of your fingers melting that butter. You're going to lose your flakiness.
Right. Wow. Well, I'm going to tell you, I have to admit this. Like I said, I suck at making biscuits, but I have found my family secret on making recipes in this household, and it's called Biscuit. And it works. And when I want to be really adventurous, I do the cheddar garlic biscuits. So, yes, I confess, I suck at making biscuits, but really it works. But I do a lot of what you're talking about is I don't read the instructions on the back.
No, that's just, that's a starting point. You
Yeah,
really
those
need
are
to
just
refine it from
Just a
there.
suggestion.
Yeah, and I do the same thing as I work with buttermilk versus because the directions on the back call for water, but I do the same thing with you is I'll just start working the buttermilk in until I could feel the consistency of the dough to be what I wanted it to be.
Right.
But actually I used to try to do the measure and everything and that just doesn't work. But I found the biscuits and my husband hasn't know this secret, but he'll probably know it now because he's been wondering what's been happening because I've mastered. And this is another thing you probably had to work on too, getting the mixtures good, but working on rolling the biscuits out is also a talent.
Yeah, just patting them out as little as possible, and then I use a floured glass if I don't have a biscuit cutter to get them the right size and just twist them in there.
Yeah.
The frustrating thing about biscuits or croissants or bread in general for me is that, Bisquick, you can do all of this work on perfecting your family recipe. It's going to be absolutely the best biscuit you've ever had.
Right.
But Bisquick gets you 95% there for a lot less work.
Yeah.
So, is that last 5% really worth all of this time and energy and sweat and refrigerating flour? And, sometimes it is, at least just for the story.
Well, and the thing is as you honestly have my respect that you can make good homemade biscuits from scratch, because it is an art to it. And bless my mom and my daddy and my grandmama's hearts, they tried to teach me, but I could not get it. So, but anyway, I was really intrigued when I read that about you. I was like, I cannot wait to hear him talk about that. But if you notice the slide up, our featured book for this month, where our bonus trivia questions are going to come from, is titled "Bringing Abundance Back" by Barbara Tucker. This book is centered around making biscuits too. The main character lives in Abundance, South Carolina, where the Abundance Flour Company used to be the main economic driver in the community, and it shut down. And when it shut down, of course, it took the economy with it. So she has decided she wants to bring her little hometown of Abundance, South Carolina back by having a biscuit festival. So, and you would think, everybody would be on board about that, but of course with any small town, I don't care if it's southern or anywhere else in the United States, small towns are cliquey, and she's going to run into that wall of resistance, of people not wanting to see her vision of bringing tourism in with the flower festival, with the biscuit festival. So I wanted to, kind of mention that right quick too, that if you guys haven't gotten a copy of that book, definitely you want to take advantage of that. Now you have a very unique. You're bilingual in the fact that you do Esperanto.
Yeah, Esperanto.
Yes, tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was a language I started learning in high school and then into college. It was designed in 1887 by a Polish optometrist, and he was living in poor Poland. There's almost no country that it hasn't been conquered by at some point, unfortunately. And this was a time in Poland's history where You had the Russians, you had Germany and Prussia, you had, he was a Jewish, of the Jewish faith. And so he had that going on, and being ethnically Polish, ethnically Jewish, in an occupied country from different occupiers at different points of its history. He saw, his vision was that people don't understand each other because they don't understand each other's language. That's why man is inhuman to man, is because we can't communicate on a neutral footing. So his vision was a language that would be easy for everyone to learn as a second language. You could keep your ethnic language as part of your heritage, speak it at home, speak with your friends, but if you were going to go out and talk to other people, you could speak something that everyone has had to learn as a second language, and it's totally neutral and puts everybody on an even footing. I like Esperanto because it's actually not totally neutral. It has its own literature, it has its own culture, and one thing that it really celebrates is internationalism and multiculturalism. And it seems like the first thing that any aspiring Esperanto speaker wants to do is take their favorite book in their national language and translate it into Esperanto. And a lot of these are not available in English. You have Lithuanian books and Estonian books and Welsh books and books from the Isle of Man and anthologies of little-known Spanish literature or Basque literature. And it was interesting to me to explore those minority literatures through this lens of Esperanto.
Gotcha. And you actually wrote a book in Esperanto.
I did, yeah. It was a collection of short stories that are all, I took the generic Esperanto setting, which is vaguely Eastern Europe. It just sort of feels like cobblestones in old streets, and maybe they had a king, but he's not in power anymore, and set them against that. But it has the same elements of the supernatural and folklore that show up in those stories.
All right, cool things. Well, like I said, I saw that and I was like, again, that was another thing that I thought was very intriguing with you is the Esperanto, is having the knowledge and the capability of using that language.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, my brain sometimes takes little vacations on me. But anyway, now your book you're here to discuss with us tonight is Winter Sisters, and you actually entered it in this year's 2020 Georgia Independent Author of the Year Award under historical fiction. It's gotten some really, really good reviews. So Mary, I'm going to turn it over to Mary now, and Mary's going to ask the questions about the book.
Okay.
All right. Well, I have to tell you, I started reading The Winter Sisters before I knew you were going to come on the show here.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it.
Great. That's a good place to start an interview with, rather than defend this. Now, why did I waste my time on this?
Generally, I usually prefer books that are set post-Civil War.
Okay.
That's just generally the time period that I like. But this one is set in 1822, and I found it very intriguing. It was a completely different world. You know, we have Dr. Waycross, who comes from Savannah, kind of comes under false pretense. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Dr. Waycross?
Yeah, he has a very formal and scientific education, raised in the best of 19th century medicine, which is bleeding and blistering and restoring your blood and your bile and your black bile, your yellow bile, and your phlegm. And they loved their schemas of which things are hot and which things are cold, and having oppositions to each other, restoring this balance, certain elements that are considered airy, things that are wet or moist, things that are north or south, east or west. It seemed like we wanted to put everything on a chart and keep it a nice and simple chart. We couldn't have like a modern medical chart that has 50 different measurements. It's not going to come down to 50 different measurements. We just have two little seesaws here that we're balancing. And so he's taking this long formal history of medical training, of scientific knowledge, or what they thought was scientific knowledge in 1822, and coming with that into Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is a remote frontier town, now not so remote, being a Atlanta suburb.
Not so frontier.
Not so frontier, no. And encountering there a bunch of naive backwoods people that just want to go to the witches up the hill for their cure, or the patent medicine men, and not trust to him and his scientific knowledge.
And he came in, he's a little obsessed with rabies.
Yeah.
And we won't spoil as to why he is, but he's kind of lured there by the local preacher who thinks that the town needs a real doctor instead of our 3 females that have been treating the occupants in the town for all the years. He thinks they're more witches than actual caregivers. We have Rebecca, Sarah, and Effie, the 3 sisters. Can you tell us just a little bit about them?
Real quick, I have a rabies story.
Okay.
It's also about my daughter. So we were at Grayson Playground, and she saw a squirrel running across the playground, and she said, "Daddy, what if that squirrel has rabies?" Like, well, actually, squirrels can't get rabies. It's, dogs can get it, foxes can get it, cats can get it, but squirrels, rodent family animals can't get it. What if he eats too much sugar? Well, that's not rabies, that's diabetes. Oh, yeah, okay. And then there's a difference between those two? Yeah, there's a pretty big difference between those two.
I'll have to tell that to my sister-in-law who's a diabetic.
Okay. Things could always be worse.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm sorry, back to your question.
No, I just said tell us a little bit about Rebecca, Sarah, and Effie.
Sure. So they are not the bent-over Shakespearean crone type of witches that Waycross thinks he's going to encounter when he gets up to their cabin in Hope Hollow. They're younger women. They've learned their particular skills and traditions from their mother and from the natives of the area and from the Appalachian tradition of medicine. Each sister has her own specialty. Rebecca is the herbalist, the natural cures and plants, barks, roots, tinctures and teas. Sarah is more about ritual magic or performative magic, and she will have the cures like stealing a dish rag and rubbing it on a wart and then burying it in the ground for 6 weeks until the wart will disappear. Now usually warts disappear within 6 weeks on their own, but if you're also stolen a dish rag, that might work too. Or getting a chihuahua and for a child that has asthma, because as the child gets older, the asthma will go into the chihuahua. Well, that's because children typically grow out of asthma, and chihuahuas often develop breathing problems as they get older, but then you can kind of see where people might have that folk belief.
Plays a little psychology with them.
Yeah.
Some of the things too.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. Of getting people stirred up, getting people riled up, to awaken their own drive to heal. And then Effie is the sister with which Dr. Waycross becomes obsessed because he can't figure out how her cures work. It seems like she's the most powerful of all of them. But while he can understand and come to respect where Rebecca's cures are coming from, how Sarah is affecting her cures, Effie is beyond his grasp, and that drives the engine of the story forward as he's trying to figure out
Has a little magical of sorts.
Right.
I mean, I don't mean like poof magic, but I mean a little mystique, I guess.
Right. There's definitely, is this a supernatural element? Is this a religious element? Is Effie a ghost, or is she the Holy Spirit, or is she somewhere in between, or is she just something that people are projecting their own ideas onto and doesn't fit in a particular box as neatly as people would like?
Well, as the townspeople know that the doctor's there and they're not trusting of him, they've ran the sisters out of town to the little cabin, but they still sneak up there for treatment and all. We kind of watch as how the doctor learns to coexist, I guess is a good word,
Mhm.
with the sisters, but it's not all easygoing or smooth. But between the two of them, they kind of affect some, some cures and all. But then we do have the problem of the panther.
Right. Yeah. Our wild panther, who's stalking the town, who may or may not be rabid, looks pretty rabid, and this is what the townspeople are afraid of. This is an apocalyptic force stalking the edge of town, and Waycross knows that he doesn't have anything in his bag of science and medical tricks that will do anything for rabies. Rebecca doesn't have anything, Sarah doesn't have anything, and it's only then Effie who may have a cure for this disease that we still don't have a cure for. We have a vaccine that if we give it quickly enough, we can prevent rabies from progressing. If we give it quickly enough after someone is exposed or bitten. But beyond that short time range, we even in the 21st century don't have anything that will cure rabies. If you ever want to not sleep for 3 or 4 days, just go on YouTube and search some videos about rabies. Would not recommend that.
Well, I don't want to give away anything about the ending, so I'm going to let you kind of wrap up give us kind of a final thought on the book.
Yeah, so for me, it's a story about being open to real science, and real science isn't just what you've been taught. It's also the mindset of being willing to learn something new and something different. When you see evidence that something else is working, then you open yourself to that, you change your opinion, you can change your mind, and improve through time. Take a step towards learning something new and improving your knowledge. You're never done learning, you never know everything. And I think people, myself included, get into trouble when we think like, well, I know all I need to know here. There's always something that other people can teach you from a different perspective.
How did you research for talking about the teas and the folk medicine that they used during that time? How did you go about researching that?
A lot of Foxfire books.
Oh,
That's a great series.
Yes.
And then just from there, looking at some of the references, looking at other, some of them more popular or more for modern practicing Appalachian herbalists. I'm not a practicing herbalist, I'm purely an armchair researcher, but I do grow some of these in the garden. I grow golden seal and trillium and lady slipper and black cohosh and blue cohosh. I've tried to make up some of my own patent medicines, or at least the idea of them, but a lot of this great stuff just came directly from older primary sources, or people who had collected those older primary sources. Some of the medicine show speeches are just direct out of 19th century advertising copy, with not a word changed.
Oh yes, we have the medicine show at the beginning of the book, and the snake oil tile, so to speak, but that plays a big part in it.
So he's talking Grove's Tasteless Chill Tonic.
Yeah.
Which is not something I could have made up at all. It's real medicine. My wife got me a bottle of it for Christmas. And I'm thinking, like, could this go with gin? And like, if it's 120 years old, is it past its sell-by date here? But Grove's Tasteless Chill Tonic is just such a great name. And it's an unusual patent medicine in that, number one, it did not have any alcohol in it, which is probably another reason why it wouldn't be good 120 years later. And most of them were like 80 proof, which was a lot of the cure in it was from that 80 proof. And then Grove's Tasteless Chill Tonic was a specific against malaria, and its main ingredient is quinine, which actually does something for malaria by inhibiting the parasite growth. So that's one of the few, unlike Lydia Pinkham's vegetable compound or Indian Kickapoo Sagwa, that would actually have done something for you. Grove's Tasteless Chill Tonic might have helped out in the end.
Okay. Well, near Lawrenceville, and Lawrenceville's in your story. How has being in Georgia affected you in writing, or inspired you in writing?
Yeah, well, when I came back from college and came back from kind of a multi-city, multinational roving period, I was back here in Lawrenceville to work, the same city where I grew up, and like, you know, this is boring. This is just a bunch of Chili's and McDonald's and Walmarts. But then the more I looked, the more it wasn't. There were weird street names like Honest Alley there in Lawrenceville. And what's the story behind that? What's the story behind the fence around the Lawrenceville Square? Why are we the only courthouse that has a fence around it?
Yeah.
The watering troughs there, and just slowing down a little bit and realizing that I didn't have to go to Moscow or Havana to find interesting stories. I could find them just here where I lived. So for me, it's about Georgia, but it's also about finding interesting stories close to home and not thinking that there's nothing here, you have to go to London to be a writer.
Yeah, that's very true. And as a writer myself, I actually pay attention to the road signs and stuff, because I actually have pulled characters' names from road signs. And there's a road between off of 78 highway between here and Loganville. It's Ho Hum Hollow Road.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I've always wondered, you know, why is that road named that? You know?
Right.
But also another thing too is, I'm like, that so has got to go in a book. You know,
definitely.
I live off of Ho Hum Hollow Road. You know, so.
And then just on my way up here, I knew about Between Georgia, but just before Between was Split Silk Georgia.
Yeah, Split Silk. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure I've driven past that sign, but I had never read it before. I'll have to go look up the history of that now.
Yeah, you get to ride around here. You'll find Campton and
Cowpens. There are
Cowpens.
Cowpens, and the reason why Cowpens name was Cowpens is because that's where they penned all the cows.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And Winder was Jug Tavern before
Yes.
it was Winder.
Yes. Actually, there's 3 counties that merged together right there. Yeah, Jackson, Barrow, and Gwinnett that come in together right there. Yeah, Jug Tavern's got a really good history. Now, you talked about Foxfire, which my ears just picked up because you guys can't see it, but there is a lot of pottery here in our den, and there's a lot of face jugs. My husband is a potter, and before he actually got to learn how to throw and make pottery, we used to go up into North Georgia a lot because he really liked the folk pottery, which comes out of North Georgia, and he always has been a huge fan of Foxfire too.
Yeah.
And we would get the books and things.
Have you been to the Pottery Museum in Nakuchi?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, that is
a very pretty building for being that far out.
Yes. And if you guys do like pottery, there is a really good folk pottery museum in Nakushi, and it highlights a lot of very well-known Georgia potters in that museum. A lot of very beautiful pieces.
You know, I have a face jug made by Bruce, and I've been trying to convince him, and he won't ever agree to do this, but I've been trying to convince him for several years now that, you know, when Barry and I both die, we want to be cremated. I want Bruce to make me a face jug, but I want the eyes that follow you wherever you go.
Oh, I kind of like that. Yeah.
And I wanted to put the music box in the bottom that plays every step you take, every move you make. I'll be watching.
Okay. Just got to maximize the creepiness factor here.
Yeah, you see, we're looping back around and had creepy stuff all night.
Yeah.
And my daughter probably told me that she would put me in the closet and face me to the wall and put a pillow behind it.
And somewhere in the middle of the night, that music box is going to go off. Well, let me tell you, Bruce used to come home just because my husband has been law enforcement all his life, just about it. And for about 5 years, he worked as an investigator, and his area was child crimes. and he would just come home and would have had a really, really bad case, or things would just, you could tell the job was getting down on him. And he's like, I'm just going to quit tomorrow and make pottery. And I was like, Bruce, we have a house payment. Because I'm seeing in my head, we're going to be sitting on the side of the road with this sign that says, please buy pottery. You know? Well, yeah. So there was a big pottery show up in North Georgia that he wanted to go to, and we went to it. And we went, the year we went was right when, it was in 2008, when the recession hit. And we went up there, and I was watching people throw $100 bills down on the table and walking away with pottery. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the economy has crashed. And these people are buying pottery. They're not blinking an eye at how much the price is. We got in the van, and I said, I want you to start taking the pottery classes. Within a month, we had him a pottery wheel, and within about 3 months, we had him a kiln. Wow. Okay. And he was like, if I'd known that this is all it took to get you to agree with me to do this, I would have taken you to one of these shows a lot earlier. But
there's some things that are recession-proof, and I think art is always going to be one of those things, maybe even more so in a recession, especially art that harkens back to an earlier time, a simpler mm-hmm. time. Maybe people saw this kind of pottery on their grandmother's shelf.
Yes.
And they're looking for a little bit of that comfort in a hard time.
Yeah, exactly. You're so right about that. And the functional pieces mm-hmm. really go well. I mean, he does the face jugs, and I was never a fan of the face jugs until I saw what they could sell for. And I was like, I'm in it. If you want to talk to Vicki and get Vicki to agree something, you got to talk to her through the pocketbook. But anyway.
I think face jugs are just as polarizing as like modern art, abstract mm-hmm. art, where some people look at it and they say, I love it. Other people, I don't get it. Like, why would you put that on your shelf?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
At least with face jugs, there's there's artistry there. Modern art, you're like, how much talent did that really take? It's just black.
Right.
It's just a black square. But
right. Well, yeah, and you're exactly. It loops back around to the old saying, art is in the eye of the beholder. Mm-hmm. So, but luckily, Bruce doesn't make the real scary, creepy ones. So I've always been blessed by that. But Tim, I wanted to ask you a quick question for any of the writers that are watching tonight. The one question I'd like to ask you is, you work with a publicist.
I do, yeah.
Mimi Schroeder. Mm-hmm. And can you tell or explain to the writers that may be watching tonight what prompted you to pursue a publicist, and what would be your advice to a writer?
Yeah. So my advice to a writer is, if you're going to self-publish a book, you need the same sort of skills and resources that a traditional publisher would have. And you are definitely not personally going to have all of those.
Right.
Nobody is an expert at, first of all, nobody should copy edit their own book. That's just something you have to work with a professional to do. You need an editor, you need a copy editor, you may need a cover designer, you need somebody to help you lay out, and you also need someone to help you get the word out. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I found with my previous books is that I'm not very good at getting the word out. Mm-hmm. I just need someone who has more contacts and more experience, and is not as shy about emailing people and saying, this is interesting and you should be interested in this. Mm-hmm. I just don't feel comfortable doing that myself.
Right.
I wrote a thing and you should like it and give me publicity and maybe people will buy it. Mm-hmm. is not something that sat well with me, and I wasn't good at doing it.
Right.
So that's going to take investing time in finding the right person, and it's going to take money mm-hmm. in paying that person a professional rate for professional work. Mm-hmm. There's good people like Mimi, there's bad people out there too. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people in the world that want to separate an independent author from his or her money. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good money in that. So you have to be careful, you have to be wary, but you absolutely need a team behind you mm-hmm. to help you in the areas where you're not an expert.
Right, exactly, and that's, you really hit on something that is so true, is people get so inundated, like booksellers and things like that, with authors walking in and saying, "Hey, I wrote a book, you know, and I think it's great." You know, well, everybody thinks their baby's beautiful.
Right.
You know, whether or not the baby is or isn't beautiful.
Some babies are just nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice baby.
Yeah, it's a nice baby.
It's a nice book you've got there. I'm proud that you finished it.
Yeah, exactly. But when you get somebody that has built a reputation of being credible in when they make a recommendation, you know, it's a whole lot different to say, "Hey, I've got this author who has written this book." And I think that's where people that like Mimi comes in and really helps, because she's basically saying the same thing. It's just that her word carries a little bit more weight, because people put value in the fact that, okay, this isn't the person who made the widget. This is somebody who has become knowledgeable.
Read the widget, vetted the widget.
Yeah.
50 authors that came to her, she's only working with 5 of them, so there's some selection process involved in that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you do get some credibility as that funnel narrows from the pool of everybody and his or her own book to, no, this has been evaluated and separated at some extent. But there's still a whole lot of stigma against independent authors and contests that they are specifically excluded from entering. They just won't be considered if you didn't have your own publisher. And I know that they're doing that to save themselves the time of sorting through a lot of slush, but they're throwing out the nuggets with the slush.
Yeah, and yeah, you and I are both on the same wavelength, because my thought on that is they threw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
Exactly, because you know, you gotta wade through the weeds to get to the good stuff sometimes, and that's one reason why here at Southern Penn Bookshop we are an independent bookshop that supports the independent author. But likewise, we also vet the books that come into our bookshop. So just because somebody walks in and says, "Hey, I've published a book and I'm an independent author," you know, and an independent author to us is not just only somebody who's self-published, but somebody who went a non-traditional route of publishing. We're going to look at that book first before we bring it into the bookshop. We're going to make sure that, you know, it meets the industry standards for layout and design, and we also, even though we do say that there's 2 things a book should never be judged by, one is its cover and 2 is how it's published, but we do kind of do look at the covers. We want to see a good professional cover, something that meets the industry standards. So, you know, because we want our readers to know that when they come in to purchase a book from us, that they're getting good quality.
Yeah, well, it's reflective of how much care was taken through the rest of the book too.
Yeah.
If the book has a cover that doesn't seem like it had a lot of thought and effort put into it, then how much thought and effort went into not necessarily the writing, or the message or the themes of the book, but there's a lot of polish that we expect from a book.
Right.
You can't have typos in a book. It just immediately distracts from the message and the story that you're trying to bring across. And you're never going to find all of your own typos. You have to.
Oh no. Well, it's kind of like being a doctor. You can't be your own doctor. You know, you've got to find that extra set of eyes that's not related to it in any way, to read it and give that feedback. So yeah, you're exactly right. Well,
if I can just jump back to the book just real quick, are we going to see any more of the Winter Sisters?
Nope.
That one and done.
Yep.
Huh? Okay.
Yep.
What do you have on the burner for coming up next?
So the first book was late 19th century and far north Georgia, and then this book is Lawrenceville, 1822, a little farther south, and so we're going to go yet another chunk further south, but a little bit earlier in time.
Okay.
Probably 1811 or so in the Wiregrass, and see how that goes.
Okay, looking forward to that. Just like I say, I did really enjoy this book. The review for it will be up on Indie Author Book Reviews sometime this weekend, but check it out if you get a chance. It's worth the time.
Well, Tim, if you don't mind, stick around with us, because we are going to be announcing the finalists for the Georgia Independent Author of the Year Award in just a few minutes. just kind of want to catch you guys up with some things that's coming up. Next week, we're going to have Lee Gatan with us. She has written a memoir that is based very much on some very, very personal experiences that she had in her life, and she titled it Light Wines and Laughter. She is a hoot. I tell you, that woman always keeps me in stitches, so you guys definitely want to tune in next week to see Lee. Now, Mary, did we get any answers on the trivia question?
Yeah, we had two people that answered correctly, and that was Georgiana Fields and Maggie Collins.
Right, and the correct answer was Carrie.
Yep.
Even though it was not his first book he completed, it was the first one to be published by Doubleday in 1974. So that just gives you guys an idea of the trivia questions that we asked during the virtual book trivia night that we have. So we kind of talked a little bit about vetting books, and we kind of touched on how the Georgia independent or self-published authors have been excluded from other awards. And when this happened about 2 years ago, that really put a huge shake or tremor through the indie non-traditional authors within the state of Georgia, and it really upset a lot of authors. And this was about time that Southern Pen Bookshop we had just opened Southern Pen Bookshop, and I was just like, you know, they threw the baby out with the bathwater, so let's go find the baby, clean it up, and let's do this. Let's start the Georgia Independent Author of the Year Award. So that's how this award has come about, and this is the reason why it is only for Georgia authors, is to give these wonderful, talented people who put their blood, their sweat, their tears, their unchristian words probably a lot of times into their work, to create a part of them to share with readers who decide to be independent and to go alone and not go with a traditional publisher. This award is there to recognize these particular talented group of authors. So we had 17 entries this year. This is our second year. We had our first award last year. This is our second year that we are going to be presenting this award. And so tonight we're going to announce the finalists. And Mary, if you want to announce the first category, which is going to be first novel.
Okay, for first novel, we have Marlene Buchanan for Life is Hard, Soften It with Laughter, and Lorelei Watson, Ain't Nothing But the Devil.
For the memoir, we have Shakira Lynn, Follow My Journey, and Michelle Watson, Peaceful Heart, Healthy Body.
Okay, now in mystery, we have Christy Breedlove for When Bees Buzz, and John W. Long, Red Blood on White Cotton.
Romance is going to be Georgiana Fields for Crimson Haze, and The Love of Gods by Terrence S. Smith.
Okay, short story collection, Jeannie Bernstein, Skating on the Septic Tank, and Susan Lindsley, Finding Bigfoot and Other Stories. Oh, and then we have young adult, which is M.M. Rodenhaver, and that is for Porkington Ham, and Marlena Frank for Stolen.
And our last category is historical fiction. Tim Westover for Winter Sisters, yay! And also Jan Agnello and Ann Armistead for With Kisses from Cecile. So congratulations to all of you guys. The winners for each category will be announced on the night of the awards banquet. The awards banquet is going to be Saturday, September the 26th. It is going to be held at the Old Katie's Downtown Restaurant here in Monroe, Georgia. They are going to cater it, and because of COVID and everything, they are set up to be able to handle us, to be able to have a catered event and be able to keep the social distancing, and to be, because I really want to bring the authors together, because this is a huge, huge night for these authors to be recognized for their work. So the awards banquet is going to be September the 26th. It is going to be here in Monroe, Georgia at Katie's Downtown Restaurant. We're going to be putting the details up on the website. The tickets are going to go on sale Monday, August the 24th. Ticket price is $35 for an individual, $60 for a couple. And if anybody wants to purchase a table, we can work with you on pricing for a table. Right now, I've got to get with the caterer to see how many we can seat at a table to stay within the restrictions with COVID. But again, I want to say congratulations to all of you guys. Good luck. We can't wait to give the awards out on the September the 26th. Now, I know that Georgia's going to be playing, and I'm going to tell you, I am a college football girl, and I think we're playing Arkansas. So,
Go Razorbacks.
no. I liked you until then.
Go independent books.
Yeah, go independent books. So, Georgia, the football schedule had not been released by yet, but anyway, hopefully you guys will, be able to tear yourself away from college football to come out and support these authors and recognize them and cheer them on as they receive their awards. Submissions for the 2021 Georgia Independent Author of the Year Awards will open on October the 1st. We will be posting information and details again up on the website within the next couple of weeks about the guide. We are going to be changing up the guidelines a little bit for next year, but we will open submissions on October the 1st. If you are an independent author and you would like to see about getting your book into the Southern Pen Bookshop, you can visit our website, southernpen.com. Click on author submission. It's going to take you to a page. It's going to kind of explain to you what we do for our authors, and there is a submission form for you to submit your book and for us to take a look at it and consider it and decide whether or not it would be a book we would like to have in our shop. So definitely you can visit us at southernpenbooks.com and bookshop.com and then click on author submission. Again, remember that you can catch all of these broadcasts on our YouTube channel. We posted up these videos up the next day on our YouTube channel, or you can see the videos here on our Facebook page. We're also on Instagram. We do occasionally have been known to tweet, and of course, as you can know, because you guys are watching us here on our Facebook page, we are here on Facebook. Also, if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, because we are always sending out information about the bookshop, special promotions, and I promise you we do not clutter your inbox. So we don't believe in sending just emails out for the sake of sending emails out. We like for you guys to know when you see something from us that it's going to be worth reading. So thank you guys very much for tuning in tonight. It was a pleasure, Tim, again, for having you, and congratulations on being a finalist with us.
Thank you.
Guys, we look forward to seeing you guys tune in with us next Thursday night with a League of Time. And until then, be safe, God bless, and have a great night.
Good night.